very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst newsroom here in Colombo. I'm Stephanie Lazarus.
And I'm Sandra Ferdinando, and here are your headlines.
Debate on the 19th Amendment to the Constitution commences. President requests all MPs to support the amendment.
ඒ ඓතිහාසික ගෞරවය මේ ගරු සභාවේ අද නියෝජනය කරන 225 දිනාටම ලැබෙන බව මම විශේෂයෙන් සඳහන් කරන්නට ඕනේ.
Clause stating that journalists could be arrested on criminal charges removed from the 19th Amendment. Death toll of Nepal earthquake exceeds 3,700. A program to assist the people of Nepal, Sri Lanka for Nepal, commences.
On to your stories in detail now. The debate for the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was taken up in Parliament today. Now, commencing the debate, President Maithripala Sirisena requested all members of Parliament to render support for the adoption of the amendment.
The bill on the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was presented to Parliament at 10:11 a.m. today by President Maithripala Sirisena.
පසුගිය මැතිවරණ ප්‍රතිඵල ගත්තාම
If you consider the presidential election results, Mahinda Rajapaksa got 5.8 million votes, I won approximately 6.2 million votes. It is very clearly said in both elections manifestos that the executive presidency will be abolished. So if you consider the 12 million votes received by the two main candidates, the people are in agreement for this amendment. Therefore, at this historic time, I should mention that the honour of this moment approving this bill will be upon all 225 members of this parliament. I am happy at this time we are not considering ourselves as being from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, the United National Party or any of our other fraternal political parties, but are thinking as one. Both parties have presented issues that should be resolved. We have a full day from the commencement of the debate today and until noon tomorrow to rectify problematic situations.
ගැටලු සහගත තත්ත්වයන් निराකරණය කරගන්න.
ඉතාමත්ම ගෞරවනීය විදියට we have accepted the Supreme Court's decision with the utmost respect, and since holding a referendum will take time and we had promised during the elections to fulfill this task in 100 days, we decided to remove the articles pertaining to Articles 42, 43 and 44 which confer powers on the Prime Minister. The political parties have agreed to this.
The Constitution does not mention the provisions for removing a Prime Minister. We are totally in agreement with the establishment of the independent commissions. We propose to bring forward an amendment that will make all the members of the independent commissions accountable to the Constitutional Council. What was stated before was that there should be no MPs in the Constitutional Council. We propose that 5 MPs should be appointed.
එවන ඒක ව්‍යවස්ථාදායක සභාව නමුත් 18 වෙනි ව්‍යවස්ථා සංශෝධනයක තිබුණානේ එමතුමා ආවේ තියෙන්නේ අග්‍රාමාත්‍යවරයාත් විපක්ෂ නායකවරයාත් කතානායකතුමාත් දැන් ඒක අපි කතා කරමුකෝ ඒක අපි කතා මේ මතයක් කට්ටිය නියෝජිතයෝ മന്ത്രിවරුන් එතුමා මේ අපි මතයක් පළ කරන්නේ අපේ මතයක් කරන්න ලෑස්ති වෙන්න එපා ප්‍රතිගාමී තත්ත්වයකටපත් වෙන්න කරන්න එපා ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය කවදාවත් 19 වෙනි ව්‍යවස්ථා සංශෝධන විරුද්ධ නැහැ.
We are not in agreement with the entirety of the 19th Amendment, but we are in agreement with the primary intention. It speaks of consulting the Bar Association in the establishment of the Judicial Commission. We are not entirely in agreement with this.
The government must know that the support of MPs cannot be obtained through threats, jokes or mollycoddling. As the Alliance or the SLFP, we do not disagree with the amendment to the Constitution.
This is for the future of the country. We request the former ministers and the MPs not to use this to protect rogues or to sacrifice the provisions of this bill in order to take forward the program of rogues protecting rogues.
It was stated in Parliament today that controversial clauses providing for the arrest of journalists on criminal charges would be removed from the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. Opposition leader Nimal Siripal de Silva voiced appreciation for the decision that was taken up by the President.
Over the past several days, Newsfirst reported on the fact that amendments made to the bill on the 19th Amendment include provisions that allow for the arrest of journalists on criminal charges. Clause 28 stated that in the event of an election or a referendum, action can be taken on criminal grounds against private media institutions in the event of non-compliance with guidelines issued by the Elections Commissioner. The punishment mentioned in the amendment was a prison term of not more than 3 years and a fine not exceeding 100,000 rupees.
An amendment was brought through Clause 28 of the bill on the 19th Amendment that punishment can be meted out on private telecasters, broadcasters and newspapers in the event of failure to implement decisions of the Elections Commissioner. Private media institutions held discussions with the President, the Justice Minister, the Media Minister and myself regarding this matter, and we are thus withdrawing this clause.
ගරු අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමා ජනමාධ්‍ය ආයතනවලට දඬුවම් ලබා දීම පිළිබඳව ඔබතුමාලා විසින්
Honourable Prime Minister, when you presented the initial draft of the bill, it did not contain any provisions on meting out punishment to media institutions. You brought it in thereafter and it was included in the amendments presented to us. As the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, we met His Excellency the President separately and sought his intervention. We are thankful to His Excellency the President for withdrawing this provision. I wish to state that we thank him for adopting the correct stance and withdrawing this clause.
මේ පදත්‍ය ඉවත් කිරීම පිළිබඳව අපේ ස්තුතිය පුද කරන බව ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න කැමැතියි. අපි දැක්කා පහුගිය දවස්වල රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ අග්‍රමාත්‍යතුමා කතාවකදී කියන්නේ
We heard Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe say recently that he knows media institutions and that he would take care of Sirasa too. This is in the Hansard. When he says that he will take care of Sirasa and that the instruments for this are being prepared, then we can imagine how far journalists will be restricted from exercising their independence in the stories that they show, write and tell. Therefore, we say to the Prime Minister of this country, as the son of a prominent media head and as the descendant of the owners of a large media institution, when it comes to ensuring their independence and transparency, we will have to think twice about how you can do this.
Well, still in Parliament, the tabling of the Right to Information Bill as an urgent bill in Parliament was debated today. Here, the opposition charged that the bill has already been referred to the Supreme Court without informing Parliament.
Right to Information Bill has been sent to the Supreme Court and it is to be taken up according to the newspaper reports tomorrow. Whether the Honourable Speaker has received it, none of us has. So how it can be referred to the Supreme Court?
We are prepared to present the bill which Dinesh Gunawardena just mentioned to Parliament following the determination of the Supreme Court. We have already sent a draft.
පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ අවධානයට යොමු කරන්න සූදානම්. යවලා තියෙනවා. ඔව් ශේෂ. කතානායකතුමාට පිටපතක් එවලා තියෙනවද?
We have requested the Supreme Court to consider this bill and come to a conclusion regarding it once the 19th Amendment is passed. So now, Honourable Speaker, if a decision regarding this is being requested within 24 hours before the 19th Amendment to the Constitution is passed, it is completely wrong, because what happens then, Honourable Speaker, is that the situation of the law changes. So if this is passed tomorrow evening, the situation of the law changes. So what we ask from the Supreme Court is to give their determination a few hours before that. To the 19th Amendment, we have proposed to abolish the introduction of the urgent bills. So once the 19th Amendment is passed in this House tomorrow, there will be no more urgent bills. So trying to get this Act passed in 24 hours is not very good. None of us are aware of the Right to Information Bill. We believe that it is fair that matters that are of such concern to the people of this country are first informed to the public and then referred to the Supreme Court. We are facing a parliament which passed the constitution of the country as an emergency act. So this chamber does not need to follow that kind of discipline any further. Therefore, it is essential that the factions concerned and the citizens of this country are given a time frame to express their views regarding this Right to Information Act. If you are all saying that this should not be brought in as an urgent bill, then we will not do it.
As a debate on the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was scheduled for today, a protest march was held in the vicinity of the Parliament to drum up support for the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. The
Protest march titled Let's Bow Down to the People's Mandate, Swiftly Enact the 19th Amendment commenced at the Ayurveda Junction in Rajagiriya. The protest saw the participation of a cross-section of religious leaders, including representatives of the Mahasangha and representatives of a number of parties. We would like to assert to all, devoid of any party differences, this is an attempt to muster support, urging all 225 to rally past the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. We are ready to get the amendment passed. We hope that all parties will only introduce amendments that will strengthen and add value to the 19th Amendment rather than reversing it. We urge the people to not allow parliamentarians to let go of this opportune moment. Do not let go of this opportunity for the sake of the public. Raise your hands and approve the 19th Amendment. Protesters were obstructed by the police when they attempted to enter Parliament Road. The police took measures to stop the protesters 200 meters away from the entrance of the parliament. We have nothing else. The river of people who have voluntarily come here today are people who have been battered by the executive presidency for 35 years. We hope that all 225 MPs will hear the message that we are giving here within earshot of Parliament, understand the public will and vote for the 19th Amendment. Do not vote against this and then come to the village and say Ayubowan. The protesters staged another satyagraha at the Parliament roundabout and then dispersed.
The Friday Forum, an informal group of concerned citizens, has urged MPs to respect the people's mandate and adopt the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. Issuing a statement, the organization says that the 19th Amendment that is before the Parliament represents the fulfillment of promises made to the people at the presidential elections and cannot be delayed or set aside. The statement reads that it is deeply disappointing that the interest of narrow party politics and what is seen as political advantages to particular political parties now seem to obstruct the adoption of the 19th Amendment and the implementation of the anti-corruption drive. While noting that the 19th Amendment has its limitations, the Friday Forum adds that it is nevertheless a crucial step towards a system of governance that is democratic and respects the rights of the people. It is for these reasons that the Friday Forum calls upon all parliamentarians to support the President in his efforts to have the 19th Amendment enacted into law without delay.
In a letter addressed to the President of Nepal today, President Maithripala Sirisena said he was deeply saddened to learn of the tragic loss of lives and extensive damage of property following the devastating earthquake. President Sirisena expressed confidence that the inherent resolve and courage of the people of Nepal would help them overcome this tragedy and rebuild their lives. He also expressed hope that the emergency assistance dispatched by Sri Lanka will in some measure ease the suffering of the Nepalese people and help the rescue and recovery efforts. Meanwhile, favourable responses are flowing in to Sri Lanka for Nepal, a relief project for those affected by the earthquake in Nepal.
News First, Sirasa TV and Shakti TV together have taken the initiative to step forward and provide relief to the families of the thousands that were killed and the thousands that were injured. The Ministry of Disaster Management, the Disaster Management Centre, the Security Forces and the Police Environment Unit have joined us in this endeavour. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is assisting in the coordination of this endeavour. Many persons in the island have come together to support Nepal at this time of need.
The world helped us when we met with the tsunami a few years ago. It is our responsibility to help people in need. We saw the relief program conducted by Sirasa. We saw it as an opportunity to do some good.
Sirasa TV එක MTV Shakti MBC සියලු දෙනා සියලු කාර්ය මණ්ඩලය දැන් මේ අවස්ථාවේදී කරන්නේ.
The personnel of Sirasa TV, MTV, Shakti and MBC are providing for these people as their own.
කමිටියන හැගීමෙන් අපේ කමිටියන හැගීමෙන් මේ අය වැඩ කටයුතු කරනවා.
මගේ භාග්‍යතුන් වහන්සේ ඉපදුණු රටේ මේ විදිහට සිදුවීම අපිට ඒක දරා ගන්න බෑ. ඒ නිසා ඒ කොහේ හරි පැත්තකින්
I cannot bear this happening to the country where the Buddha was born. In the name of humanity, my wife and I did what we can.
Items that are required are collected at the Harrison's Building, 330 TB Jayamawata, Colombo 10. Since roads in Nepal have been ruined by the earthquake and since the Kathmandu airport is only open for relief services, we can only accept items on the list of essential items provided by the Nepalese authorities. Donations that are required are blankets, warm clothing, drinking water, milk powder, canned fish, dry rations, first aid kits, tents, baby products and women's sanitary items.
මානසික ලැබෙන මේ දීමනාය පඩියේ ඉතින් මේ වාගේ දෙයක් කරන්න කියලා හිතුවා. මොකද සිරස කියන්නේ ගොඩාක්ම කට්ටියට හොඳ දෙයක් ලබා දෙන දේවල්.
Sirasa has provided a yeoman service to the public.
ජනතාවට ලොකු සේවයක් ඉටු කිරීම.
Well, as relief efforts gets underway, Newsfirst Krishan Devasagam is at the collection point at Harrison's Building, number 330B TB Jayamawata, Colombo 10. He now joins us with an update on the progress that has been made so far.
Newsfirst, along with the MTV MBC media networks, has always been there for the people of Sri Lanka in their time of need. Last year alone, we launched the Sirasa Shakti Sahana Yatra twice. Once when drought struck a number of districts across the island, and second when the deadly Koslanda landslide hit and claimed many lives. Now once again, we at the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited have come forward to initiate a relief program for the people of Nepal following the devastating 7.8 magnitude earthquake which struck the country and claimed the lives of over 7,300 people up to now. Newsfirst and the MTV MBC networks has launched the Sri Lanka for Nepal humanitarian program. We are now currently collecting items, and in the food category we are collecting milk powder, canned fish, dry fish, salt and drinking water. While in the non-food category we are collecting warm clothing, blankets and tents, along with sanitary items and first aid equipment. Now special mention must be made regarding warm clothing and blankets, since many Nepalese are afraid to go back indoors following the deadly earthquake and are camping outside in tents. All items can be dropped off at here, that is the Harrison's Building, which is number 330 TB Jayamawat, Colombo 10. And I also would like to say that starting tomorrow, we will be collecting these relief items at the Disaster Management Centre, which is situated at Vidyamawata, Colombo 7, commencing from 8 a.m. We at Newsfirst, as well as the MTV MBC media networks, make a humble request to all Sri Lankans to donate whatever they can to help this worthy cause. For Newsfirst, I'm Krishan Devasagam. I'm reporting from the Harrison's Building at TB Jayamawata, Colombo 10.
We are joined by Wade Campbell, an adventurer and entrepreneur who has operated in Nepal for nearly 18 years. Well, good evening, Wade. You've been an entrepreneur, you've been a businessman there in Nepal. So what do you think is the ground situation is so far in Nepal?
Well, the word we have in the country is that it's very dire. And I think it's really difficult to understand just how challenging the country is at this time and how difficult it will be to get the aid, to the people that really need it.
Well, Nepal is a landlocked country. It's
Correct.
Very tough to get relief aid across to Nepal. So what do you think are the challenges so far the Nepalese are facing right now?
Well, the main challenges are that most of the roads are out. So luckily the airport is open and aid is able to get in. It's getting to distribution centers. But the difficulty will be the flood of people and refugees that will be coming into Kathmandu Valley, and also going out and reaching out to the villages. I think the best way, having lived here for 12 years, to imagine for Sri Lankans would be if you can envision Colombo being devastated and aid getting to Colombo, and then you need to trek that aid to the top of Adams Peak starting from Colombo. I think that's the best picture that I would be able to paint for you of the challenges. Now, there would be hundreds of Adams Peaks and people living to the top and all around on the mountain, and getting that aid to them is what's going to be very desperate, and we've seen nothing to date on any information outside of Kathmandu because the reporters haven't been able to get out into those districts.
So, Wade, you were speaking to me earlier and you told me that you were in Kobe, Japan in 1995 when the earthquake struck there.
Yes.
What do you think? You should be having an idea what exactly the people in Nepal are going through right now. Could you paint a picture?
I think the only picture I could paint is that it was terrifying, and it was traumatized me, and strangely enough, after 100 or so aftershocks, weeks after the earthquake, I needed to get out of Kobe. I ended up in Nepal and started a business there, and that was some time ago. So I think the challenges and the fear factor, not feeling safe, seeing that your cultural heritage, the places that really anchor you or make you connected to the land, make you Nepali or have a feeling for a place, has been destroyed, and all around you is this destruction.
And Wade, tell us, what do you think are the essential items are right now? What do they need right now?
Yeah, I think we're talking very, very basic needs. They're going to be challenged with water, they're going to be challenged with food, clothing, warmth, and also flashlights. And people are reporting in Kathmandu that there is a lot of pollution, and the pollution is mainly caused by the buildings that have come down. Not that there's pollution in terms of traffic anymore, but there's pollution just in terms of Kathmandu is a valley, and it's trapped a lot of the debris in the dust. So masks are very essential right now for the people in Kathmandu Valley. And we're going to have to rely heavily on large organizations so that we can just get that aid out into the communities that need it.
Well, Wade, if relief efforts are already ongoing, everything is up and running, what would you like to appeal of the Sri Lankans who would like to help them out?
Yeah, I just think that your neighbors are very close. This is the country that is the home of Lord Buddha, and this country is suffering right now. It really needs your help. So please give and please help. I think it's a great job that you folks are doing. Our company is going to support that effort tomorrow and try to collect as many goods as we can through our corporate connections and our sponsors and through the schools. Please give and get those supplies so that we can load up that plane and get the help to who needs it right away. So please help.
Thank you very much, Wade.
Thank you.
It was nice having you.
Namaste.
Nepal, thousands killed and many more have been left homeless and destitute as a result of the recent earthquake and its aftershocks. You can contribute water bottles, canned fish, dry rations, dry fish, first aid kits, salt, tents, milk powder, sanitary products, children's items, warm blankets and new clothes. You can hand over your generous contributions at number 330 TB Jaya Mavata, Colombo 10. Newsfirst Sirasa Shakti Sri Lanka for Nepal humanitarian program in collaboration with the Disaster Management Center, the Security Forces and the Police Environment Unit.
Welcome back to the news. 4 people were killed and another injured following a collision between a train and a van in Aryavil Nagar, Kilinochchi. The train plying from Kilinochchi to Baunia reportedly collided with a van this evening. The deceased, a woman, a child and 2 men, were identified as residents of Kalutara.
Minister Sajith Premadasa made these comments on the 19th Amendment to the Constitution at an event held in Tissamarama today. I would like to say that we presented the 19th Amendment to the Constitution to the Parliament today, and it will be approved by a 2/3 majority vote. Now you can visit any Grama Niladhari and inquire into how many are receiving Samurdhi benefits. You are privy to their names, addresses and how they qualified for the benefit. You can get the information at the AG office. You can access any information according to the Rights to Information Act. The laying of the foundation stone for President's Primary School in Debarabava Tissamarama was held under the auspices of Minister Sajith Premadasa today. Meanwhile, Minister of Power and Energy Patale Champigaranavaka says that the development of recently discovered gas reserves in Mana is priority. The minister made this statement at a workshop on downstream petroleum industry in Colombo today.
Petroleum will not play a dominant role in the future as envisaged by the recently launched 10-year development plan of the energy sector. Main emphasis of the plan is on developing indigenous renewable energy resources in order to reduce dependence on the imported fossil fuel. However, development of recently discovered natural gas resources in Mana Basin is a priority. Two gas discoveries, Dorado and Barracuda, some moderate type, have been made in Mana Basin with potential of 2 trillion cubic feet of gas. Commercialization of Dorado gas discovery is planned. It is envisaged that natural gas will be available to use for thermal power plants by 2020.
The Askeri and Malwatu Viharas of the Siam chapter were informed about the Sirasa John Keel's Vesak Kalape once again today.
A CD containing the Thun Sutra that will be distributed at the Sirasa John Keel's Vesak Kalape was presented to the Chief Prelate of the Malwatu chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Tibbatwawe Sri Sumangala Thera. Representatives of the senior management of the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited and John Keel's Holdings PLC were present at the occasion. A booklet on teachings of the Buddha, which is to be distributed at the Vesak Kalape, was also presented to the Chief Prelate. The group then visited Venerable Dr. Godagama Mangalathera, a member of the Sangha Council of the Askeri chapter of the Siam sect, at the Askeri Mahaviharya and presented the CD and booklet to the Venerable Thera.
Religious
prior to the commencement of the journey of the sacred hair relic from the Viharya to the Sirasa Vesak Kalape. Representatives of the senior management of the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited were also present at the occasion.
Now in news from Geneva, the 16th session of the UN Intergovernmental Working Group on the Right to Development has been deferred in the absence of a chair. According to Tamara Kunanaikam, who served as the chairperson rapporteur of the group over the past 3 years, the situation has arisen as a result of Sri Lanka informing the non-aligned movement that it would not support her nomination.
It has come as quite a surprise and a shock to all the member states here, who've taken for granted that I would be renominated again by the non-aligned movement, until just a few days before the meeting. The Sri Lankan, the foreign ministry has sent instructions not to support my renomination. And so Sri Lankan mission here told the non-aligned movement that they will not support me, so they will in fact block my candidature. So this created a crisis within the group because it came to the last moment, but at the same time they didn't understand why I was in change at the time, because they had been satisfied and very happy with my chairpersonship and with the progress that has been made in the past 3 years.
The working group on the right to development was established by the Commission on Human Rights in its resolution 1998/72 and by the Economic and Social Council in its decision 1998/269. It is an open-ended working group under the office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, meaning that all UN member and observer states, intergovernmental organizations and non-governmental organizations with ECOSOC consultative status may attend public meetings of the working group. As Chairperson Rapporteur Tamara Kunanaikam had presented a draft framework to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the working group on the right to development with a view to accomplishing its mandate. In his opening statement for the 16th session of the working group which commenced today, the UN Human Rights Chief Zaid Ra'ad Al Hussein said Kunanaikam had presented concrete suggestions with regard to the working methods of the working group.
So they don't understand why Sri Lanka, as a developing country, member of NAM, is blocking an issue that is a non-issue. And for me, it comes as a surprise because the present government and the foreign minister has repeatedly said that they want to, that the previous regime had offended many member countries of the United Nations. That's why we were having trouble. But now they've offended the whole group of the non-aligned, which is the majority in the United Nations.
I was away on Saturday when I heard the startling news that the Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry had wanted to stop Tamara Kunanaikam being renominated as chair of the UN Working Committee on the Right to Development. She had been elected to this position in 2011. After she was sacked, rather sadly, by the last government, they had tried to stop her, but the non-aligned movement had wanted her appointed, and then the last government withdrew its objections. But this government has evidently said it will not have her at any price. And this is tragic because the non-aligned movement is very keen to have her. She has international acceptance. The Western group are quite happy with her work. And it is extremely sad that the minister, he has not consulted the deputy minister who knew nothing about this. He has not asked the advice of the president. The head of protocol knew nothing. So I hope His Excellency the President will intervene and make sure that Sri Lanka gets the respect it deserves internationally and the non-aligned movement is not insulted in the way that Sri Lanka has been doing.
Given that our attempts to contact the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for a response on the matter were unsuccessful.
Minister of Finance Ravi Karunanayake says that confidence in investors not only rests in the growth rate but also based on the market integrity, good governance and transparency. The minister was speaking at the South Asian Investment Conference in Colombo today.
The South Asian Investment Conference 2015, organised by the South Asian Federation of Exchange or SAFE in collaboration with the Colombo Stock Exchange, was held in Colombo today.
Confidence of the investors will rest not only on growth rate but also based on market integrity, good governance and transparency coupled with political stability and political will to embrace foreign investments with the right spirit. Due to the inexplicable reasons on which I do not want to wish to elaborate, foreign direct investments did not grow as expected in the past. Our intention to ensure that we basically give the confidence factor, bringing the archaic laws to be changed and the new laws to basically change, to give confidence and ensure that this is a good point to ensure that capital is raised.
We are all developing countries. We all face the same problems of taking people away from poverty, creating a strong middle class. You gentlemen, ladies, come together, create instruments for the rich, for people who can invest millions, but we forget or we don't pay enough attention to creating instruments for the small and medium enterprises. So if you really think about it, these are common issues we need to address and solve. And to do that, we need to create an environment where investors can come, which is what you want to do, an important asset class and investment destination. But we need to draw the structures, the rules and regulations, how we compete and how we all win.
As we are aware, the real economy is a mirror image of the financial economy. Thus, substantial economic progress will be accelerated only when integration of the real and financial economy develops hand in hand. Even though the multidimensional and complex role of a capital market is widely accepted, developing a robust and efficient capital market is a difficult task for many emerging economies. Nonetheless, we should actively promote significant development of capital markets in the region.
The report of the committee appointed to examine alleged corruption and irregularities at the Ministries of Sports and Tourism over the past 5 years was released today. The report contains information on 7 incidents pertaining to the sports sector.
The committee appointed by the Sports Minister was chaired by D. Disanayake, while Saman Bandara, Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Sports, functioned as Secretary. N. Padmanathan and Rusli Hussain were the other members of the committee. The report is based on testimony obtained from 25 persons over 5 weeks. The report contains observations and recommendations on several matters, including the transaction pertaining to the relaying of the synthetic track at the Sugadadasa Stadium, the granting of international and domestic cricket broadcasting rights to CSN, corruption and irregularities at the Football Federation, corruption and irregularities at the Table Tennis Federation, capital expenditure at the Department of Sports Development, the granting of contracts to the Redco Company, the granting of financial allocations for national sports associations, and the forced retirement of former Deputy Director of Sports, K.S. Piris.
Well, that's a wrap for Primetime News at 9. Remember to keep abreast with all these stories and much more. You can simply log on to our website, www.newsfirst.lk. I'm Stephanie Lazarus.
And I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Do take care and good night.